What's up, Taekwondoistas? Welcome to my Taekwondo journey where I talk about life. And as you know, I'm taking a little break from formal Taekwondo to embark on a spiritual journey. And this video sub-series is going to be discussion of that, entitled From New Age to Jesus, as I explore coming back to Christianity from the New Age and the topics that are normally discussed and confronted when someone is on this path. And today's topic is going to be, why are Christians so hated? So today, what prompted this video was today I was watching a new upload from a Christian artist, and she had a speaker come on and share with us her journey and of yoga and Reiki, and she was telling us how dangerous it is as a Christian because of our beliefs. These things are very, very spiritual, and they do open the doors to alternative forms of spirituality, which can be very, very dangerous. Well, the way that she was explaining it was very condescending. There were a lot of questions that New Agers had, and she would just basically laugh at them and facepalm herself and basically just dismiss the question as ridiculous and go on a rampage of how everything was demonic that was not in the Bible. So this is why a lot of people do not find Christianity too appealing. So although a lot of what she says I felt are true because of the things that I've read in the Bible, it was very, very hard for me to get that information to pass through to me because of such the hostile, front that she had. She had a lot of hostility. She was basically yelling at us for doing yoga. So there are different ways to go about this. There's a lot of good information that she had. One of the things that I wanted to share that I got from her was the idea that all of the activities that you may have when you're asking for protection first, a lot of New Age activities you ask for protection beforehand, like maybe Reiki or meditation or something like that. She said, hey, consider if you have to ask for protection, is that demonic? Are you doing something not of God? Because if you're doing something of God, do you need protection? I mean, that was a key point there, but because she was so hostile and condescending, if I weren't this open-minded, I probably would have just shut her off. And a lot of Christians are like this, but I've studied psychology, I studied public speaking, and neurobiology, and what I learned is that you can't influence people when you're judging them. Do you hear that in the background? Bells. I love it. So a lot of Christians come across as judging. Some of them, they might not actually be judgmental, but their message is, we love you so much and we don't want you to go down the wrong path, separated from God, because that's very dangerous for your soul. So we're going to yell at you and force you to do stuff. That's like the Christian MO, and they think it comes from love. And it does, right? But like I said, you can't influence people if you're judging them. You just can't. So that made me think there's a need out there for Christians to be more understanding, less judgmental, and get the word across in a loving way, a truly loving way. When I trained to be a life coach, I had the great advice from one of my mentors that said, when you're telling or teaching somebody a new thing, love all over them. Just when you're talking to them, imagine that you're loving them, like you just love them, like you care all over them, love all over them, and the message will come through. So, I don't believe that yelling at someone and saying stuff is demonic is always the right way to go about this, Although the message may be true, I think that Christians should set a different example, be someone that people want to follow, that people want to, not so much follow that you idolize them, of course, but be someone that you want to be like. Say, okay, what gives you so much peace? I mean, that's kind of what attracts people to New Age stuff anyways, because if you grew up in a Christian family like I did, and you had a mother that was like forcing you to go to church, forcing you to do stuff, the natural psychological response is to rebel. And it's to, want to be free and do what you want, right? And that's the oldest lie in the book, in the Holy Bible. That's the oldest lie. Do it your own way. That's separation from God. But it doesn't mean that you have to be forced into something, based on just basic psychology and what I've learned about people. It's better if people figure out that way by themselves than they're told. When people figure out the answer, they are more committed to it. So I figured out actually that the New Age was deception. I figured it out myself. Of course, there were some Christians that were very forceful, and of course there were some New Agers that were very forceful as well. But I figured it out myself. I will share that story one day. But I do believe that because so many of us who may have grown up Christian were hurt by other Christians by forcing them to do things without a reason. I mean, there's one thing to force, but also to explain why and allow the person to come to their own decision. If they're really in tune with God, they will come to their own decision. Just encourage that relationship with God. Don't make the person wrong. They'll figure it out, but just gently guide them to, the answer that they can find themselves. Gently guide them to the truth. And if they come to you with questions, don't be condescending. Don't facepalm yourself when they're asking a question that might sound stupid to you, but to them, they're coming from a different mindset and background. So just appreciate that. Be a little more loving. Just love all over them, care all over them. I think that being a Christian should be partly a role model for a better world. A better style of humanity. And being a Christian does not mean to me that you have to be forceful and that you have to boss people around and make them feel like they're going to hell if they do the stuff, whether it may or may not be true. Let them figure this out. Guide them to figure this out. Just guide them to the Lord. Guide them to the Bible. I started reading the Bible every day. I figured out those answers myself. Just by reading, it just changes your mindset. It's a very transformative book. Coming from the New Age, at first I was like, oh my God, this is so violent. How could people think this way? But then you start to back up, and when you start to read it, you start to hear the voice of God through the book. You start to get to know God, and you start to get to know the messages, and you start to understand that some things are not to be taken literally and are just, this is a historical book. And so it was written of the time period that it was written, with a certain mindset. The writers had a certain mindset. The writers were living in a certain era. So you have to also filter in that. But just seek the message. Talk to mature Christians about what you think. Get feedback. There is one path. So you got to make sure that you're on the right path. There's so many ways to get deceived. So just trust yourself that you will find the right path. But, the basic guidelines that I can advise is just to read the Bible every day. Make sure that you're getting the message every day. And just talk to God. So those are the two things I would advise anyone, talk to God directly. Don't talk to any angels. Don't talk to any other beings. Just talk to God correctly and directly. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to end this video. And if you liked the content and want to know more, have any questions, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I wish you lots of love on your journey, and I'll see you in the next video.